Hello, I'm going to make a video talking to you about using a lookup table and having, multiple possibilities. So we looked at an example that had three possibilities: pass, fail, and honors. Okay, but what if we have more than three possibilities? We already saw three possibilities. We needed two if statements, right? So let's say we have 10 possibilities, like your letter grades. That would mean like 9 if statements nested in each other. That could get a bit messy. There is a useful function that has been built into some of the more recent versions of Microsoft Excel. I believe it's called ifs, so IFS, so ifs with an S. And basically what you can do with it is you can say, if you have this, then you get this. If you have this, then you get this. If you have this, then you get this. If you have, it can just basically be infinite. So you can say things like, if it's greater than 93, you get an A. If it's greater than 88, then it's a minus. If it's greater than 83, it's B plus, etc., etc. And that's using the ifs. And I believe that's from Office 2016 on. So if you have that, you might be able to use the ifs function, which is quite useful for multiple cases. I'm going to show you a lookup table because sometimes what you're doing is you're actually taking a value and you're looking it up, okay, and then returning something. Okay, so this is how I actually give you guys a letter grade, so depending on your score. And how this works is you set this up in a way that it is in ascending order, and this is very important. I'll repeat that very clearly. Your lookup table must be in ascending order. Okay, so starting from 0 or starting from the lowest, going to the highest. And basically what this does is it sets a range. From 0 to 50 will correspond to an F. From 50 to 58 will correspond to a D. Okay, actually it might be 50 to 57.9 or something like that. And as soon as it hits 58, you'll get this one here, so 58 to 62.9 will be a C minus. Okay, so that's how the ranges go. So it takes the range and goes there. So from 88 to 92.9 will be an A minus, and from 93 and above, you'll get an A. Okay, so that's how a lookup table works. So let's see the formula for it. So in here, let's go to our formula, lookup and reference, and we're going for the lookup. Okay, and I usually use the first one. I find it a little bit easier to understand. Okay, we get this box that says, what are you looking up? I'm trying to look up this grade right here. Okay, and where am I looking it up? What's the lookup vector? This thing right there. Okay, all of that is where I'm trying to look it up. And when I do find it somewhere in here, what do I return? What's the result? Okay, result vector is this one right there. Okay, if you need to pause, take a look at that, what it corresponds to. And then I hit OK, and you can see that that gives me B. So 78 was actually right here, right? From 78 until 82.9, so right between there, I do in fact get a B. So that's correct. Now, I'm going to try to autocomplete this, and I'm going to get some wrong answers, okay? And let me just explain why. Now, you might have already guessed it. What happens when we autocomplete, okay? If you recall, when we autocomplete, things get bumped down. So my formula in here, so next, right now it's looking at A2. And then the next time, when I bump it down, it's going to look at A3, which is fine, because I do want to look up the 87. But where's it going to look up? This whole lookup table is going to get bumped down one. And in fact, if I click up here, take a look at these colored boxes. Everything did in fact get bumped down one. Okay, let me just hit escape. And when I get right down to the very last one, watch how far it's been bumped down, right? So it is looking up the right value. It's looking up the value in A9. So it's looking it up there. But where is it looking it up? It's looking it up in this range right there. And it's returning, trying to return something in that range. So we can't have this bumping down. How do we stop it from bumping down? If you recall, we have to lock our cells. So taking H2 and locking it with the F4 key. So F4. F4 here. We want to also lock that We want to lock the G2 and we want to lock the G11. So again, using your F4 key. Okay, once that's done, everything is locked except for A2 because we do want that one to bump down here. Okay, let's hit enter. And now let's do our autocomplete. And now everything will turn out perfectly. You can see as when I go down, you can see if you look up here at this formula bar, you can see that A2, A3, A4, those change, but the lookup table, those ones always remain the same. They've been locked in place. So that is how we use a lookup table, which is often very useful. So I just set up another example here, and just to show you that you don't always have to look up numbers. You can also look up words, and how that works is, again, I have to set up my lookup table, so the things that I'm looking up. And do notice that this can be on either side. At first I was looking up this stuff on the right side. This time I'm going to look up on the left side and return stuff that's on the other side. Okay, and do keep in mind that this does have to be in ascending order, so alphabetical. Okay, so from A to Z, all in order. And what it does is it looks at the name and the first letter, and it says, is the first letter in between those? Is it in between these? So it finds where is it in between. So Jake will be between F and N, and will return you will be poor, right? So let's do that. Okay, so look up, and what am I looking up? Okay, I'm looking up the name. I'm going to look it up in here, and it's going to return one of these, and I'm going to go ahead and lock these directly while I'm in here. Okay, so Amanda will be rich, right? She's between A and F, so returns that. Jake is going to be poor, and let's see what the other guys are. Rich, fall in love, and Paul's going to explode, right? Because Paul is in between here, in between there, and so Paul will explode, unfortunately. Okay, so using lookup tables to look up a certain value in between a range and returning the corresponding. Okay, so that can be pretty useful.